So let's focus a little bit more on point source discharges. You can have two different types. One is discharge of low density water near the surface, okay, shown here on the left, positively buoyant discharge. And often in estuaries just takes place and you discharge something into a sub-estuary, into a river arm, and this then becomes distributed through your estuary. Positively buoyant discharges in positive estuaries. What you also can have is you can have negatively buoyant discharges, denser discharges near the seafloor. And this is shown here on the right-hand side. So what's shown here is essentially the density, also as a measure of the concentration of your pollutant. Okay, and you have a tidal flow, and the tidal flow is a mixing agent, okay, because the tidal flow helps mix the pollutant. Okay? You also may have a flow structure directly introduced by the discharge, because here you discharge a heavier water, you actually have a dominant flow direction essentially down the slope. However, you also get a steady state distribution. Okay? Steady state means something that does not change over time. So although you continuously discharge the pollutant, it actually becomes mixed and you get a balance. And it's always, there's always some stuff disappearing in the far field or so, but you get a distribution which is always the same. So now before we focus on a particular type of this discharge, which is a desalination discharge of brine, of hypersaline water, okay, let's have a look at the environmental policy, the water policy in Australia, just so that you get an idea of what is actually the permitted, what is the limit of, or what distance can you actually pollute, according to the regulation. So let's have a look at Australia's Environmental Protection Policy 2003. And here we find a definition of a mixing zone. Okay? There's a mixing zone, and this refers to the area impacted by a discharge of a pollutant. Must not pose a significant risk to agriculture areas, and so on, must not be situated within waters that have significant value as a spawning or nursery area for aquatic organism. But here now it comes. The zone must have a radius not exceeding 100 meters. And in the case of other surface waters, the zone must not have a radius not exceeding 20 meters. They talk about estuaries, they mean smaller estuaries, like positive river type of things, 20 meters, and in other water bodies, 100 meters. Okay, so this is good to know, 100 meters. So you can, if you apply for it, get a permit to pollute 100 meters. So the edge of the mixing zone is indirectly defined through a species protection trigger value in terms of a dilution ratio, often derived from so-called ecotoxicity studies. A dilution ratio. What it means is your pollutant has to be diluted 100 times, say 100 times, within 100 meters from the discharge point. And the conditions are specified in an operating license granted by the EPA, by the Environmental Protection. Okay, so let's have a look at discharges from a desalination plant.